Hello, welcome everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Lindsey Hammel. I'm the Director of Education and Public Programs here at UCR ARTS. We're so happy to have you here. And so today's artist conversation is centered around the exhibition in this very room. The exhibition is called Off Reservation, Sofia Valiente and the Photo Students of Sherman Indian High School. Before we begin, we at UCR Arts would like to respectfully acknowledge and recognize our responsibility to the original and current caretakers of this land, water, and air. The Cahuilla, Gabrielino, Tongva, Luiseño, and Serrano peoples, and all of their ancestors and descendants, past and present and future. Today, this meeting place is home to many Indigenous peoples from all over the world, including UCR faculty, students, and staff. And we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these homelands. The moderator for today's conversation is Amanda Wixon. Amanda is a member of the Chickasaw Nation and is a curator at the Autry Museum of the Autry Museum of the American West in Los Angeles, and has worked as a volunteer curator at Sherman Indian Museum. She's also a doctoral candidate at the Native American History at the University of California in Riverside. So I'll turn it over to Amanda now.
Hello, thank you all for coming. My name is Amanda Wixon, and yes, I'm the Associate Curator of Native History and Culture at the Autry in Los Angeles. A lot of people don't know this, but we actually have the second largest collection of Native objects in the country that we're currently heavily involved with tribes in repatriation and exhibition consultation. But I did volunteer curate with Laureen Sisquak at Sherman Indian Museum for a very long time. And my dissertation work is based in Sherman history. So I'd like to introduce, everybody can just go down the line and introduce yourselves. Ms. Monica.
My name is Monica Royalty. I'm a retired teacher from Sherman Indian High School. So these are my photography students. Got to work with Sofia. And I'm Wampanoag, Mi'kmaq, and Humano, three very diverse tribes. And I'm glad you're all here.
Hi, I'm Sofia Valiente. I got the opportunity to work with this amazing group of students via Monica at Sherman Indian High School while I was a graduate student at UCR. And that was, I think, the best thing I did in Riverside.
Hello, my name is Rainby Gay, and I just graduated from Sherman of 2025. And I was in the photography class 2022 when it barely started rolling and everything. Yeah, it was a fun class, made a lot of memories in there, and it was pretty good overall.
Hello, my name is Kathryn. I'm from the White Mountain Apache tribe, and I went to Sherman all 4 years, and I graduated a couple months ago in May. And I also took royalties class, or photography class, and I enjoyed it a lot too. It was a great opportunity because now none of those classes are no longer taken. And yeah, it was really fun. It was fun creating all the memories with her.
Well, congratulations to both of you for graduating, Sherman. That's a big achievement. So I guess my first question would be for Sofia. I understand the allure of Sherman. My family, like many Native Americans, have roots in boarding schools. Most of mine were in Oklahoma. But I did, combing through Sherman's records, find pictures of my relatives. And so working there. So that was obviously very powerful. So what drew you to Sherman in the first place?
Coincidentally, I was producing a project about my experience in a boarding school when I was a teenager. It was actually a behavior modification program, which I produced as it's an experimental documentary film I made and an exhibit, and a project that was personal, so produced over produced over many years. But so I arrived to Riverside. I was a graduate student, and I heard that there was a boarding school, and I was just immediately curious and drawn. And I just thought that I was part of our graduate the art program. They gave us the opportunity to do the Gluck Fellowship, and so with this fellowship, I had I was already working with some, I had already done a program where I was working with some students with photo and storytelling, and I thought, oh my God, please, I would love to go to Sherman. Can I, whatever it is. And I just was drawn because a bit of that connection, but also, in a very, very different world than we had, but it was sort of, maybe I felt like a parallel world there that existed. And I just, and incredible that Monica was there, and there was a photo program and a film photo program, black and white film. Incredible. So
Synergy.
yeah, and just like absolutely, just grew organically. Didn't really have a sort of as an agenda or plan, and we just sort of continued working over the years in different classes. Different groups of students. Yeah.
So Sherman has a very, as one of the last of the boarding schools, but also considered one of the flagships. It was the last one built. Has a very, very rich photographic history, stemming all the way back actually from 1892, which is the Paris Indian School days. So given that rich photographic history, some of which now has been digitized, how did you feel going into that legacy, and how were you feeling in a way that students can add to that legacy or change it even, or change the narrative? What was sort of the intention?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think, absolutely with the legacy, the historic photographs, but I don't think that I really seen contemporary photographs perhaps, and I thought, wouldn't that be, and I think that, Monica had her class, and I think primarily a lot of the students, the work that they would make was sort of when they left campus, right? And sort of like when they went on trips, and I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if they had the cameras, and that was sort of separate, but I had to sort of photograph the mundane, sort of everyday life. What is that like? And sort of, and I think, that's something that hadn't existed contemporarily, but it's something that very much grew, right, because it wasn't like, so it's through their eyes, right? So it's very unique, and also I think that I think there's a tradition of storytelling that was a lot grander that I originally had. So that was sort of something I learned along the way as well, and it was just amazing to see through their eyes and how they would. So I was very simple, right? I would come in and I mean, it was consistent though, but it was sort of like, okay, photograph the day in your life, right? Or sort of like sort of prompts, if you will, but sort of just as a framework to sort of like, but to observe the everyday, right? The sort of things that we take for granted, and sort of like, but are very important. And I think that is always a record that one can have when you're learning in photography, to have this sort of record of these moments, because these aren't the photographs that we make, that are the photographic moments that are sort of, that make it maybe into an archive, right? It's sort of every Monday, what the cafeteria looked like, the food, the sort of the carton of milk, and sort of all of that is very pertinent.
There, I mean, as a historian, when you do run across occasionally those unposed photos, those are really the most authentic. So my next question is for the student. So, we live in an age where we can document everything all the time with our phones, and I know Sherman students are no different. So how was using a film camera different than using a phone camera?
It was like, I thought it was like bizarre at first, because like you had to like also like, cause you couldn't like, cause like with a camera, like with a phone, iPhone of course, like you can capture like easy moments and with all that. But like with a film camera, it was like, oh, okay, like you just have to be in the moment. Like a person like doesn't know whether you're taking it or not. And then it was just, I thought it was really crazy, because you had to adjust, and then you had to like, I just didn't say it was crazy overall. Like, I can't describe it. Yeah, it was a weird camera. And then, but I thought it was, for me, I thought it was like very like fun, because then you see these tons of people within the lenses, and they don't know like you're capturing their photo or not. So it's just like life through those lenses, at least.
It was fun doing hands-on work with the cameras. It was my first time, so I was like excited, like because I like to learn like new things. So yeah, it was fun. But yeah, it's like really different with like these. Yeah.
And so how much, this one's for you. So how much did they already know the basics of photography, and what kind of cameras were you using for these projects? How much were they already, which projects have they already done by the time they started this project?
Okay, well, I had introduced them to analog cameras, which of course are totally bare bones cameras. They had to learn about light, they had to learn about f-stops, they had to learn about everything from scratch. And it was a really huge leap for most of them because they're from the instant gratification cell phone generation. So they had to really think and compose. It forced them to pause and compose and look at things more deeply. But yeah, it was really a process for them. They knew, they had already shot, I think, 2 or maybe 2 assignments when Sofia came into the picture with us. And I was fortunate enough to have her as our Gluck Fellow 2 years in a row. I asked for her specifically the second year because they hardly ever have students that are working in the photography field, and especially black and white film. And so it was perfect. And since she had the background of attending a boarding school and the project that she was doing for her grad project, I believe that was, it just was a perfect fit. I couldn't have ordered a better Gluck Fellow for my students. But no, the students knew how to use the cameras, and Sofia actually brought them point and shoot cameras because she wanted them to take them home with them over vacation. So they did. And that was really an amazing thing for them. Because I think basically what it did using analog cameras is it taught them that they need to pause. They need to really put thought into what they're doing. And like I told them, with your cell phones, you're taking snapshots. With photographs, ideally, you're composing. So it takes a lot more insight and reflection and time sometimes. But I wanted to get them to the point by the time they worked with Sofia where they were more spontaneous and they had that intuitive sense about how to use the camera. And I mean, it really shows in their work. They did amazing work.
And so in the process, you know, you mentioned obviously, same with me, when you pick up a camera, you're like, mm. So you guys clearly came a long way.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you, I'd say, to sort of get used to it? And were your subjects aware of what you were doing, kind of, and sort of like, are you taking a picture, or like questioning?
Yeah. Well, first, cause like she wanted, there was like when the analog camera, she just wanted, there was like no filming at all. She just wanted us to get like that feeling of trying to like capture like a shot, of, like compose and everything and pause. So we did that around campus a lot, like just to get the feeling of it and everything. It was like, I say it was like pretty quick to learn and everything, but like when it came to like when you put it for the film, like when you put it in the can where you're trying to like soak it and everything has to be completely black, like dark in the room. I'm just all like, oh God. Yeah, but it was just everything was like hands-on, and then like it was like a fun experience, I think, and like it was very, I would say, like very intriguing to know like what you had to do through all of that. And
how did your families and friends take it back home?
They're like, what's that? And then like, of course, my grandma was like, oh, I know what that is. And I'm all like, okay.
And so how many rolls did you guys shoot over the summer?
I think it was like, I have no idea. Like, I don't think we had them over the summer.
Oh,
It was during the school year.
during the school year.
They had them
for
in
the breaks.
For
You guys
the
went back
winter
to the
breaks, yes.
For the winter break. Okay, for the winter break. So, yeah, that would count for the snow pictures. I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the snow pictures.
I don't think it was a ton of roles, but in terms of I think I gave you guys like 3 or 4 rolls to take with you.
Yeah.
Oh
And I
yeah.
recall saying to take photographs on the way home and to take photographs on the journey back home and the journey there, and then have a roll at home as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
Some of the most I think poignant pictures in the Sherman archive are the students arriving and going home, and sort of the looks on their faces, and it's so great to capture it in a contemporary sense. So, and how many students in total did this?
I was limited to 10 per class because I had 10 enlargers.
Oh, okay.
So I was really gifted to have that group of students.
So you mentioned, of course, that they don't have that anymore. For those of you that don't know, the art teachers have retired and they haven't replaced them. So the art program at Sherman is not great right now. Is this the first art class that you guys took there, or did you take art all 4 years?
I think it was until my junior year
Mhm.
that it stopped, because I know they didn't have art my senior year, but I've taken all 3 years of it. So yeah, it was actually fun because I had a royalty almost all my 3 years.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you took beading. Did you take basketry? Did you take graphic design?
Studio
All of
art
the
and
studio art.
film photography.
Wow. Okay.
Printmaking.
And printmaking, yeah.
And
Printmaking.
printmaking. Okay. So do you normally, now that you've gone through this experience, would you think you'll keep taking pictures with that? With the camera?
I think so, yeah, because I still have all my film that I took throughout wherever we went on trips or throughout the school. So yeah, I think if I ever I really want to buy one because it's so fun just seeing these just looking through the lenses and seeing these people just go through life, because you're the main character in your own life, and then so when you see these other people, they're side characters, and then but they have fascinating. It's just so fascinating. But then when you think about it, those side characters have their own life too.
They
so
do.
it's I'm so
They
sorry.
do. It's hard to remember sometimes.
Yeah,
but
but
they do.
but it's
You go
it's
there.
just- you guys get the point. But it's just cool. Yeah, it's just it's just very fun overall.
So you mentioned you went to boarding school and it was different. I mean, I think everybody can argue school in general is a form of behavior modification.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
So how did a native boarding school, particularly a federal off-reservation boarding school, compare to your boarding school experience?
Well, I can only speculate their experience, right? But right. I mean, I think again, they're very, very parallel experiences, and but I would say that one thing I think that I related to perhaps is this sort of, again, going somewhere where you're not from, with this forming a new community with people that that aren't from where you're from,
Mm-hmm.
forming this good sort of being in this sort of bubble out of sort of society in a way, and then and it being I always remember actually Lori. Lori was for many, many years the head of the museum, and just now I think retired, but Sherman. And I remember her saying this to me, and I always kind of stuck of it in my head about sort of having to assimilate, and sort of the grappling of that. Being that perhaps it is, there is a positive aspects or sort of and in society, and again, and being in an institution, right? That's why we go to school and we go into these structures, right? But I think that there's an acknowledgement of that. But there's a grappling of what is being lost, perhaps, and so I think I understood in my own completely different parallel experience that isn't perhaps what anybody experiences there. But and then I think I sort of the structure that I became very interested in. I was reading a lot about, I'm very into Foucault at the time, and reading a lot about power and sort of how that is, how these sort of institutions, how they sort of function and sort of, and so I think a lot of even the structural elements having a dorm mom and sort of like dorm moms and sort of like the rules. I remember one of the times, take a photograph of the rules. I would see what the rules are. And it was like, I think of a wall of rules and like, what are and then there was, so there was a lot of sort of parallels of that.
Certainly structural.
Yeah.
There is a bomb shelter. So.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Jules, remember we went on a camera walk and I said, "Where's the bomb shelter, guys?" Well, Jules the shared with me. Another photography student was in the exhibition, so a lot of history as well, and thinking about the decades of that, what the building has been and gone through, and obviously the history that we have to absolutely acknowledge.
So I know just from my experience, like I said, Sherman is attractive to a lot of people doing a lot of projects, and you always sort of run the risk of what's exploitative and what's not. Are you gaining something from this experience that's tangential to the actual experience? So my question for Miss Monica is, I know you get approached, you were always approached by a lot of people doing outside projects. Even in my time in the museum, not a week went by when someone was calling saying, "Oh, we'll come in and do this for you as long as we can look through your archives," or some sort of quid pro quo. Maybe even, I've seen it even with the students, we'll feed you and we'll paint this as long as we can record your oral histories. So a lot of it can be very exploitative. Mm-hmm. How do you judge, a project coming in over the years? How do you judge a project, whether it's something that's going to be, good for the students or not good for the students? Is there some sort of vetting involved in it?
Well, I know that we're really restricted by federal guidelines because we're a federal school. So use your imagination there. There were a lot of things we couldn't do. Like, I remember my first month there, I had someone call me and they wanted to donate a lot of supplies. I couldn't take them. I wasn't allowed to take them. We ended up working through Lori to be able to let people donate things systematically. We had a lot of local churches and local groups here in Riverside that donated things. But it's one of the things I had to be really careful about. But I was really fortunate to find out about the Gluck Fellows of the Arts early on. I did that for at least 22 years of my 24 years there. I hosted Gluck Fellows in different disciplines. I had some really crazy ones. I had, I think, the first Native man in California to get a PhD, Theron Wayhill. He's up in Santa Barbara. A dance major. He blew my students out of the water. But Gluck kind of lent a kind of boundary that the students were bound by the Gluck guidelines. And of course, we were bound by the Sherman guidelines. I mean, for example, I couldn't leave them alone with my students. I had, it was all very on the up and up. But usually if I'd get approached by someone besides the Gluck Fellows, I'd go to administration, have to get all the information to present to them. And depending on who the principal was at the time, some of my, they're nodding. We had so many principal every 2 years for most of my career there, right, guys? So depending on the principal, they would suggest how to make these programs possible, or totally shut them down.
Yeah. I've seen that too.
Yeah. But Gluck was really a godsend for me because they had such a diversity of fellows that I worked with. And Peter, who is here today visiting from LA, is a very successful artist. And he worked with my Art 2 students on painting project. And of course, Sofia, two of my favorite Gluck Fellows. Just amazing.
Great.
Amazing program.
So I know, there's an old story about Sherman and a former art teacher, shall remain nameless, actually, it's encouraging students to do art, and then, the students would leave for the summer or winter and come back and their art was gone. And she'd say, oh, I don't know, it's gone. And then later, it was found all over Riverside in people's homes. She was selling it. She was actually selling all this art. So, there is that danger of exploitative behavior. And I know, even being as a Sherman student, you have to be somewhat guarded as well, because people always want in and they want to, find the scoop out, or, say a lot of bad things or say things that are completely false. Because, my experience in Sherman is there was good experiences and there was bad experiences, but you can't only focus on the bad history of it, because a lot of people met their wives and husbands there and sent their kids there, and it still has such a strong, resonance in the Native community, as all the boarding schools do. So are you guys legacy students as well? Did you have family members that went?
Yeah.
No, not you.
Yeah, I was the first.
And what made you choose Sherman?
I just wanted to get off the res.
Yeah. I've heard that.
And she wanted to go to the beach.
Yeah. I talked to a student once that said, well, it's really close to Disneyland. And I was like, ooh, it's not really, but okay.
Yeah.
California.
And who from your family went to Sherman?
My family, it was, my grandma and my grandpa, they both went there, but they didn't know each other yet.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay. And then now my older sister, and then my other older sister went there. So yeah, it's like a very lineage and of all that. But,
Nice. So you grew up
Yeah.
knowing that you were going to go there.
yeah, basically.
Were you able to share your photos with your family?
Yeah, I have the book that's like out in front of the tribal. Yeah, some of my photos are in there, so they got to be able to see like my photos, and plus I have like a binder of all the photos that I took, and then it's just in there. So they just scanned through and all that. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. What did they say?
They're like, oh, this is so cool, because like in our culture we can't really have like black and white because of the net. It's just not like that. You only have black and white through like for like funerals or like death.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, you have like captured like a fun way into it. So I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, it was okay.
And do you like black and white? Shooting black and white?
It was pretty cool.
It's a vibe.
Yeah, it is
It's
a vibe.
Yeah.
I was like, it's a vibe. Yes.
Well, do we have time is it time for questions? Sure. Okay. Does anybody have any questions from the audience? Perfect. Thank you. I don't know what time it is.
Are you going to be making any efforts to bring back the art programs, or putting like a push towards that from more of a community or legislatively or in some other way?
It's not looking good. Not looking good.
They've run the position several times, but I guess it's okay to say this. The federal schools the teachers don't make the same amount of money as the public schools. So especially when you get new teachers that are coming up the road, I think they look at the pay scale. That's part of it. And there could be between a $20,000 and $30,000 difference for a teaching position.
A couple years ago,
Annually.
Deb Holland came through on her sort of national trip, and she held an event, survivors event at the school. And at the time, the Sherman, the museum is very old. It's the last remaining. The museum is the last remaining building, and it needs a lot of work. There's sagging ceiling tiles. Basically, the only thing that the school pays for is electricity. Everything else is done by volunteers or volunteer donations or something like that. So she had, toured the school, and she met with a lot of key faculty, and she was interested in helping, and she assigned people to help. And there was some rumors of some new initiatives, maybe a new building, maybe a refurbishment of the building. There was a lot of different things. In the end, they sort of checked on the cemetery, and that was really, because that was sort of the bend of that tour. And then they went away, and nothing really happened. So now that there's an administration change, I don't think they're going to prioritize Indian education. I just don't think it's going to happen. But I mean, even prior to that, the probability of Indian schools, they're starting to, tribes are starting their own schools, and they want to keep their kids home. And so now that we see more and more tribal schools, that's what's happening. And that's where Native tribes funding is going. Because, Sherman, up until kind of recently, was supported monetarily their arts programs through local tribes, but that's also changed. Unfortunately.
Thank you all very so much. Ray, you had mentioned something about photos, not being able to have photos. Can you say more about that? Don't you say
I think she meant black and white, the black and white photos.
Oh,
Yeah.
like in my tribe, like Navajo Nation, we can't really have like black and white photos because it's kind of like an omen on someone, basically, and it just means that like death overall. You only have black and white when you're having a funeral or like stuff like that, because they passed on and then they won't be able to like just be there with you, basically. So yeah.
I also wanted to follow up on that answer because can you talk about how that affected you or how you felt in that experience? And do you see yourself continuing with the medium of photography? And how did that feel to make a person black and white to work in that way with that culture?
It was definitely weird because I knew like something had to be dealt with that, because my mom was telling me, oh yeah, she said, just be careful when you like take it and like everything, because it could like follow with some good things or some bad things, because it always comes like a full circle whenever it happens. But it was okay for me overall. And then like I had like some things done, of course, for it and everything, and then I will probably continue it. I just have to like be careful whether I choose not to like take those photos or not, you know?
Yeah, that's also a very strong subject matter to consider conceptually throughout your making as well.
Certainly, though, I noticed that photography as a medium is growing among Native American artists. I think every year we get more and more entries into the jury competitions in photography. But it's always, important to note, I think the photography is within cultural boundaries, so it's not ever going to be maybe the photos that people want to see, but the photos they get, and they're fantastic. So some of the new artists that are coming up in photography are outstanding, and showing that sort of, that mix of balancing reservation life with sort of new ideas about community and new technology and stuff like that. So it's cool. Keep it up.
Yeah, I think there's also an element of collaboration. It's
Yeah.
really, and I think certainly that was a project and what it was for me. But I think that's very important when people are telling their own stories,
Mhm.
and that how much more what the photos that we want to see, right, or about how much more relevant it is.
Mhm.
How do you want to show it to us,
Mhm.
and sort of challenging those ideas of even photo mastery that we might have embedded in us from institutions, right? What is a good photo?
Mhm.
Right? Yeah.
I was just very interested again in both of you. You talk about how you're very interested in photography, what you learned there, but also do you have certain career goals outside of photography where you want to go? And will photography now augment what you learned, your perspective, your feeling, your sense of people, the world, the community?
Yeah, this September I am going to be going to the University of Oregon, and that will be my career. My major is going to be psychology, and then I kind of wanted to go into forensic psychology. Yeah, and then it was very good because photography basically meant to me is like I was like a very hands-on learner. So like it made me go express that way and everything. So like it was just like beneficial to my likings and everything. So
Oh, just to add on, because I am Navajo and Hopi, and UCR graduate for psychology. I worked as a probation officer my whole career.
Full circle. Awesome.
And you? What are your plans?
Oh wait, what was the question?
Oh,
Sorry.
your plans after school, now that you've graduated, what's next?
I don't know, just whatever life throws at me, I guess. But I do want to become a tattoo artist. I've been drawing for a long, long time. Yeah.
Really?
So that's my career goal.
Jasmine did a lot of commission work at Sherman, and sort of did a lot of portraits I hear of those staff, and did really beautiful drawings. Yeah.
Well, it's good that you know Miss Royalty. She's got connections in the tattoo world.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah,
Thank you for
thank
doing
you.
this.
Yeah, thank you guys.
I have no idea what time it is.
Sorry.